Hello, I'm Katie.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jed.
And welcome to Untitled, the Jackson District Library podcast where we talk about all things books, movies, games, and other media, plus some library-ish things too. Today, we'll be talking to Kelvin, our Adult Services Coordinator at the Carnegie Library, about The Alchemist. But before we get started, I want to thank you for checking us out. We really want to connect with you, our community, and help you to find new material to read, watch, and play. We started out by recording first chapters, which is now one of the segments, but it evolved into what you're listening to now. We really hope you email us at podcast@myjdl.com and tell us what you think, ask us a question, or just say hey. So without further ado, let's talk about what's new and coming up at JDL in July.
Well, first we're going to talk about new kid books that have arrived at the library. The first one I want to talk about is Channing Tatum's second picture book in the Sparkella series. This is the series that he created or was inspired by his own daughter. This one is called The One and Only Sparkella. If you haven't read these, they're really cute stories. The first one's all about acceptance and Ella learning to accept herself at her new school, and I've heard good things about it. There's a third one on its way as well, and then the interesting thing is there's going to be a live-action adaptation that he's going to star in. So it's kind of neat. I've never seen a film kind of come to fruition in that kind of manner.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that it's like, I wrote the story about my daughter, we're making a series, I'm going to be in it.
I know a lot of actors and actresses would love to be able to tell that.
Oh, for
or
sure.
have the opportunity to tell such an intimate personal story.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up on our list, R.L. Stine is releasing the Steintinglers. That's coming later this summer. It is a collection of 10 horror stories, which will appeal to fans of all the goosebumps and the scary stories to tell in the dark. After 30 years of R.L. Stine, he is just continuing to produce all the spooky stories for kids of all ages. So it's kind of nuts to me hearing that he's been at it for 30 years. That's a little bit longer than I've been alive.
Yeah,
so
if you didn't feel old already,
right,
this will definitely do
Welcome to it.
It definitely makes you feel dated. It's crazy to think that he's been writing for 30 years. I mean,
Right.
Goosebumps was such an essential part of the 90s.
Oh, yeah, for
But
sure.
it's cool that he's had that staying power. I have kids come to the library, they want the Goosebumps. And
Yep.
it's really cool to know that there's still such a impactful thing for horror books for kids.
Right.
So I have a teen pick that you're going to want to put on hold, and that is Colin Kaepernick. He's releasing a graphic novel memoir. It's called Change the Game, and it's geared towards young adults and focuses on his memories of his years in high school. And
Nice.
so everything that I hear says that he's a really good guy, and I think that this might be the kind of thing that either you or your teens might want to read this summer.
Yeah.
Graphic novel memoirs are a really interesting way to learn about someone's past. You get that visual component, and that can be really impactful in delivering how those moments added up to be so important to them. So I really like the March series. It's about John Lewis in the civil rights era, and that's
yeah.
really cool, another graphic novel autobiography, and that's a whole series, and that is awesome.
Really? That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
I might
super
have to put that one on
impactful.
hold.
Moving on, we've got some new materials coming for adult fiction as well. So I'm going to start us off with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before.
It sounds like it. Sounds
Yeah.
pretty unique.
It sounds like there'll be parts of it that's like your more traditional love story of boy meets girl or boy meets boy or girl meets girl and they fall in love together. But it also sounds like it's going to have a lot of that like self-learning and self-love part to it, which I like. I'm here for that.
I'm a huge fan of any love story that takes place over like a grand amount of time. So 30 years is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like When Harry Met Sally, just things that show people from point A to point B and how their relationship evolved, I think always comes across as more impactful. The book I'd like to talk about is called Switchboard Soldiers by Jennifer Chiaverini. This novel is about one of the great untold stories of World War I. It's about the women of the U.S. Army Signal Corps who broke down gender barriers in the military, smashed the workplace glass ceiling, and battled a pandemic as they helped to lead the Allies to victory.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
Strangely relatable to nowadays.
Absolutely.
connotations
Definitely
there.
not wrong. Yeah.
History is cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, for all of you who are interested in beach reads for the summer, we have lots of books coming by the mega popular authors David Baldacci, Debbie McCumber, Daniel Silva, and James Patterson. So, in case you're looking for something that's just going to hook you from the beginning and keep you right on through while you're spending your summer reading time on the beach or in the library or wherever life takes you this summer, you can definitely find them on our shelves, maybe as a hot pick, or you can place your hold.
It's kind of like a blockbuster season for the big release authors. We called it Bookbuster instead of Blockbuster.
I like that.
There you go. It's a Bookbuster
It's
summer.
a bookbuster.
Yeah.
And now to round out our new selections for the month, we're going to talk about new movies and shows that are upcoming on DVD and Blu-ray. The first one I'd like to talk about is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This has been called one of the most serene movies in years, and I've heard phenomenal feedback from several coworkers and lots of friends and online. The buzz is really there. If you're into interesting, unique, original stories and especially like nowadays multiverse, everyone is in love with the multiversal concept, and this movie not only pokes fun at that, but it actually is really insanely heartfelt and dramatic, and it has a lot of depth to it while playing with, like, I would say, like a more modernly used concept like the multiverse.
Nice.
It looks fun and the reviews are great. So I think if you're looking for just a really unique film to watch this summer, definitely check that one out.
The one that I have is one that I have heard more about. It's The Lost City. So this is a romance and comedy, and it's going to be great for fans of Romancing the Stone, National Treasure, as well as just, if you're a Sandra Bullock or a Channing Tatum fan. Seeing the trailers for it, I thought it looked hilarious, and that's been the general feedback that I've heard, is that it's just a really fun time of a movie.
It was really fun. We've got different kinds of movie watchers in my family, and it hooked everybody, and everyone laughed, and it was good. It was a good way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
Nice.
Yeah. If you're a sucker for those kind of treasure adventure films, this is a perfect one. I've heard that Daniel Radcliffe plays the villain in it, and he is phenomenally funny and really well acted. Brad Pitt is also in it as well.
Oh, yes. And
so, I mean, what an all-star cast.
Right, I was going to say
Absolutely.
4 named powerhouses there,
yeah.
so...
Yep. So I want to talk a little bit about a show that I started watching on HBO Max, and it is now coming to DVD with season 1. It's called The Gilded Age, and this is going to be great for fans of Bridgerton and Downton Abbey. And in fact, it's written by the same person who wrote Downton Abbey. And I was immediately drawn in by all of the things that we see with the Gilded Age and the fixation with money and propriety and the contrast there when it goes away.
I've heard good things. It's Julian Fellows, like you had mentioned, who had done Downton Abbey, a writer of that and creator. In this one, just imagine him, but with an HBO budget.
Yes,
And HBO's a gorgeous costuming.
absolutely.
Yes. Sadly, we aren't able to touch on every new thing that will be coming to our shelves. So be sure to keep an eye on the new shelves at your branch. But while you wait for those new releases, let's hear some JDL picks from our staff that you can get your hands on right now.
Our first JDL pick today comes from Betty from our Summit branch. Betty chose The Murderbot Diaries, which I just love the name.
The name is great.
The Murderbot Diaries series, which is written by Martha Wells. This science fiction series about an AI robot is full of both suspense and lots of heart. Great for fans of Anne Leckie and Jay Kristoff.
So our next JDL pick today comes from Kayla from the Eastern Branch, and she chose The Cat I Never Named, a true story of love, war, and survival by Amra Sabik El Rayas. And Amazon says the stunning memoir of a Muslim teen struggling to survive in the midst of the Bosnian genocide and the stray cat who protected her family through it all. That just sounds really interesting and fascinating. I didn't know what to expect when I first read the title, and then I went and did a little more research, and it's one I put on hold too. But Kayla goes on to say, it's a young adult nonfiction read, a heartwarming story of how war impacts everyday life and how love and family can carry you through. An amazing story that I still think about after reading it a year ago. So
That's
something
awesome.
very pertinent to today too.
It speaks volumes then.
Absolutely.
Looking for some material suggestions but want something more specific to you? Head to our website at myjdl.com and select the JDL Picks option under the Explore header at the top of the page. That will take you to a form where you can fill out all the specifics you're looking for. Within a few days, one of our staff members will email you with a list of materials they've selected based on what you asked for.
You can also ask to have them place holds for you, and so it's like a surprise on your hold shelf.
This is a great way to find new things by crowdsourcing information from your local librarians. Next up, we're going to highlight some of the events going on at JDL in July. Stick around.
So the first thing that we want to touch on for events going on in July is that our summer reading program is in full swing at this point. We're roughly halfway through. It has been a very busy month, and we have had lots of programs and more still to come. So check out what we've got by going to myjdl.com for the full listing of summer events. There's just too much to go into here.
Lots of branch-specific events. So, let's say you go out to Spring Arbor. There, of course, there's going to be events out there, but they're going to be happening at every branch. So that's why we recommend to check out myjdl.com and go to the events section, like Katie had mentioned, because there is so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of Spring Arbor, on July 29th from 6 to 11 p.m., we have the National Teen Lock-In, and it's going to have author chats, food, video games, crafts, a photo scavenger hunt, and much more. So if you go to our website, you'll find all of the information about how to register for your teen to participate.
They've been doing this program for
a long time.
At least like 5 years now, and it has always, I've heard just great feedback from the families who attend and from the staff that helps to run it. It just seems like a blast.
Yeah.
So the final event I want to talk about is the summer reading program finale. So this is our big celebration that takes place on July 30th, 1 through 4 p.m. The celebration is celebrating the end of summer reading program. We just want to thank everyone for participating and being part of the summer reading program. It is such a big piece of what we offer the community. So this is going to take place downtown in front of the Carnegie Building that's on Michigan Ave. There's going to be a DJ, mermaids, face painting, and the Ring of Steel, which is an action troupe. Now, normally, the Ring of Steel dresses up as knights, but this time around, to play with their theme of
Oceans of possibilities.
Thank you. They're going to be dressing up as pirates.
Yes.
So this should be lots of fun. Please dress up as a pirate if you want to participate and join in on the fun.
I am going to be there as well, dressed up as a pirate. I am not part of the action troupe, though. So, like, all of the acrobatics and stuff.
We can't expect any acrobatics from you?
No. The best I can do is maybe a cartwheel, but I'll probably hurt myself. So.
We could do, like, a mock sword fight. I think we could pull that off.
I could manage that. We can get some Nerf swords going. It'd be good.
Yeah. Oh, man. Nothing says pirate more than Nerf sword.
The Nerf swords. Yeah. It would be perfect.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, no, I'll leave the acrobatics to the professionals.
I think that's probably a smart call. Yep.
Be sure to check out our events calendar by going to myjdl.com. As a part of the summer reading program, we will be hosting a variety of performances, classes, and other activities. There will be tons to explore.
Up next, we'll be interviewing Calvin about The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So stay tuned for that. Well, thanks for joining us today, Calvin. What book did you bring to talk about?
Thanks for having me. I brought the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's a wonderful book. It's one that I care very deeply about it. It's the type of book that you go back to many times over throughout your life and has a different meaning every single time that you read it. And for me personally, it's the one that I go back to when I feel like I'm maybe not on the right path and want to make sure that I am or that I'm not. That's when I come back to this book. This is like every 2 to 3 year book where I read it and it either affirms how I'm doing or kind of sends me in a different direction, which I find very, very fun and interesting.
So it's kind of like the old friend with new things to say.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes.
When I was like hunting for feedback, reviews, perspective online, a reoccurring thread I noticed was a lot of people are like, you need to own this so you can have it on your bookshelf so you can constantly reference it.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of rereading books. It's not really my thing. I usually just kind of read it and take it for what it's worth and move on. But this also, the style of this book, I would call this book philosophical fiction. So it is, in its essence, it's a philosophy book, but there's characters, and so it's not Plato or Voltaire or something that's just dry philosophy, but there are characters and things like that. To me, it reminds me of things like The Prophet by Khalil Gibran or Steppenwolf or Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, where there's a story, but the story doesn't really matter. It's the philosophy behind the story that you're going home with every single time, the things that's sticking with you. I can tell you what happened in this book, but I can't tell you how you will take this book. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for every reader, it presents its own
and every time you read
version.
it,
Yeah.
it presents its own version, and you take something totally different away from it.
So it sounds like the type of book that it's like, even if I tell you everything that happens plot-wise, I'm not spoiling it for you.
No, it's a very simple book. Like, the plot is very, very simple.
It's a quick read too, right?
Yeah, it's 160 some pages. The plot is, and it's a classic plot. It's guy has a dream, like an actual dream, decides what does that dream mean, follows that dream. It's a travel story. It's a travel story to go figure it out, but that's the most basic
it's a
understanding
classic.
of this book. If you read this book and you come away with it like it's about a guy who went to go look for a treasure, you're probably not getting much out of this book.
Gotcha. It's like a classic road trip story where it's not about the destination.
Yes.
It's about the journey.
Exactly. Exactly.
Nice.
So throughout reading this book, what did you feel like the author's purpose was? Because it's short, it's succinct, and it's philosophical, but what do you think that they were hoping other people would gain or glean from this?
I'm wary. You hear authors talk about their own work enough that they very rarely will they say, this is what I want you to take away from this, right?
Yep.
So it's a very personalized thing. But I do think in this book, every time I read it, the most basic premise is always still the same, which is be true to yourself. Be who you are, follow your dreams. And then the other half of that, which I think pretty universally understood to be the theme of the book, would be to trust the universe. So, I'm not a particularly religious person, so I don't speak about it in terms of God telling me what to do or something like that. But I truly believe that the universe will tell you things. If you're meant to know something, if you pay attention, the universe will tell you that, yes, you're on the right path, or no, you're not on the right path. Paulo Coelho wrote this book in 2 weeks, and he said afterwards that he was able to write it so quickly because it had already been written in his soul. Which I found to be
nice.
an awesome way to say that.
Yeah.
And the reason that he wrote it, he was mid-40s or late 40s when this is the first book he wrote. He had never written a book before. And he always had wanted to write a book, but had never gotten around to it. And he told himself one morning when he woke up, I'm going to write that book that I've been meaning to write if I see a bird's feather today. And he walked out of his house, and a bird's feather floated right in front of him the moment he walked out his door.
This speaks strongly to the book then, because the book says over and over again to look for signs.
Yep.
And what a stronger sign than that.
Especially when you tell yourself that that's going to be the sign, and then that's the sign. Yes.
If this thing happens today, I'll do it. Second you walk out the door, thing happens.
And such a random
right,
thing.
Universe.
Such a random thing to pick too, and then affirmative out of the gate.
It wasn't even at his feet or anything. It literally floated in front of his face.
Right. That it was just you cannot miss me.
Hey.
It couldn't be more obvious.
Hey, hi, you know that thing that you just thought and said hi.
Yeah. You cannot ignore this now. You have to write this book.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said you'd do it, so you're going to do it now.
Exactly. So it's awesome. I've always believed that I had a book or two somewhere in me, but the act of writing is such a tedious process, especially for me, that I just can't. He said it'd take him 2 weeks. It would take me 2 years to write a book like this. And the truth is this is 160 pages.
Yeah.
At the most.
Yeah, I think it's classified as a novella.
Yeah.
Right.
This feels very much like a first novel. Not that it's badly crafted or anything like that, but it's the size of it feels it's I'm trying this out.
Yeah.
I'm seeing if I can do this.
It very much has the hallmarks of that.
Yes,
first novel.
A story of, and honestly, you could probably take this and change the characters' names, and it could be a series of short stories.
Okay. Right.
You could cut it in a way and edit it in a way that it would be a series of short stories.
Because it takes place over disparate areas. It starts in southern Spain, right? And then it works its way to Egypt.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Yes. And the process of travel through all of that. And there are different characters. So you could take the character chunks where he's interacting with the Alchemist, or he's interacting with the king, and just make that one story. It feels very much like a series of short stories.
Well, that's cool. I wonder if that would just show that it lends itself more towards maybe a miniseries adaptation.
Yeah.
Or a small run.
Yeah, The Alchemist is the connecting factor, and then you get the different episodes that are the different character
swing around
perspectives.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that is Will Smith is the one who optioned this book. So I don't know when we will be seeing this in any in the future, but I imagine it's gonna be a little while if Will Smith still has the rights to it.
I had seen that and I thought the same. I thought, how interesting, the timing of that with our conversation. But I'm curious if that means if the rights are going to be sold now or what have you, because he's had them for a little bit.
Yeah, I thought I read like 2019 or something,
Yep.
so a couple of years. And the thing is that the main character is a child, and so like he's not going to play the main character.
Yeah.
So he might not have had any part. He might have just been like, I'm going to executive produce it or something like
Yeah, and I
that.
know he's got a production company.
Yeah,
so.
yes. He probably would have put himself as one of the minor characters because that's what,
Yep.
that's what he does. That's his job. It might get made with him just sort of in the background.
Yeah.
But even then, he's kind of persona non grata in that industry right now, so who knows if he'll...
Yeah.
So other producer studios may have backed off from that project.
And
Yes. And he, the way our culture works is 3 months from now, people are going to forget that he slapped Chris Rock anyway.
I mean, aside from the meme culture, because the meme culture will
that's
never
true.
let it die.
Can I mention one other thing about making this a movie?
Yeah,
because I
100%.
found the concept of that I found really interesting because this is not a story-based book. There's very little things that are happening. It's a very interior book. And so I was thinking about it, but I was like, could this be made into a movie? Because like very interior books are really hard to make into movies without like voiceovers, which become kind of cheesy. And they, generally people try to stay away from voiceover movies. But I think someone like Terrence Malick would make a wonderful movie out of this because it's very ethereal. It's very like...
much more atmosphere
Yes,
driven.
yes, atmosphere. It, like the only way you could make this a movie, I think, is if it had very little dialogue, because there's not a lot of dialogue in the book, but like you got the feeling of things by the way that it was directed and the way the cinematography was and all of that, which feels very, very Terrence Malick-y to me.
I feel like part of the charm too is its locations, and it's not grandiose. It's very grounded in those locations. You could have the beautiful Spanish, countryside.
Yes,
and
the
then
Andalusian
beautiful-
mountains and
Yes,
things like that. Yes,
definitely. So a very visual director would be perfect for
Yes,
this.
I think it would have to be something that was much more visual than dialogue driven because there really is not a lot of dialogue, and even like there's very little of him thinking. Like it's very much like narrator narrating.
This kind of touches on what I've seen, like feedback for the book is a lot of people, because it's kind of open like that, a lot of people find it easy to insert themselves into that character and take on those lessons that the book is trying to impart.
Yeah. I that's the reason that I picked this book is this is the book that when I am struggling with decisions in life and struggling with like what my path is in life, I come back to this book. This is like the book I come back to when I need to reaffirm I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the path that I'm supposed to be on. And I find that that's like this is the perfect book for that, for me at least.
Yeah, do you find it like centering?
Yeah, I would say I find it centering and I find it clarifying. Like, they talk in this book about trusting the universe, right? So like I think they call it like personal legend. Be your personal legend. And I find that this gets me there. Like this makes sure that I am my personal legend. And if I'm not, this is the sign for me. Like they talk about looking for signs. This book and the things that I get from it are the sign that I'm looking for when I'm reading it. I am of the belief that if you're in tune with the universe and you can define the universe however you want to define the universe. If you're a God-fearing person, then if you're in tune with God. If you're not a God-fearing person, then use the universe for when I'm talking about this. But if you're in tune with those things, you will get signs from the world, from the universe, from, honestly, I don't know what it is. Is it fourth dimension telling me what to do? Is it some future version of myself coming back and telling me weirdly what to do? I don't know. I can't describe that.
Are we actually a game of Sims for aliens?
Exactly. But I can tell you that there have been many, many times in my life that I was struggling with something, whether it be a career path, whether it be a relationship, whether it be whatever it may be. And if I sat down and I quieted my mind well enough and I thought about what the issue was, and then I went out into the world and kept a quiet mind and just paid attention to the things that were around me, almost always the universe gave me a hint to you're on the right path or you're not on the right path or something along those lines. It might not have been as obvious as it was for Paulo Coelho when he said, I'm going to write a book if a feather comes in front of my face, and there's the feather.
And there it is.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
It's never been that obvious for me, but it's always happened to me when I allowed it to happen to me. When you have a clouded mind and you're too concerned with things that you have no control over or with the physical world, it didn't happen. But when I was able to allow myself to see what the world was trying to tell me, what the universe was trying to tell me, what God was trying to tell me, whatever you want to call it, I was able to see it.
It seems like it acts as like a good centering point, a navigation point, grounding point for the chaos of just life, existence. It can, if you come back to it, it can kind of give you perspective, priority.
Absolutely. And you know, we all struggle with things in life, and sometimes it's just hard to get the clarity that you're looking for. And if you allow the world to give you that clarity, it's helpful. And it's helped me many, many times throughout my life.
Just kind of embracing that chaos. Yep.
Yeah, yes. And understanding that you might be on the wrong path. You know, like it's not just confirmation that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Many times, this is the gist of the story, the be true to who you are. The world will tell me I'm not being true to myself.
Right.
I appreciate that it's not just affirmations and yes manning. It's going to go both ways.
Yeah.
The universe will let you know, or you can use this book as perspective to kind of guide your own path, whether you're on the right path or not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just the idea that like it's fine to be on the wrong path right now, as long as you are willing to like acknowledge that and be like, okay, so if this one is wrong, what's wrong with it and what do I need to do to move to the right one?
It's scary. It's scary to make the realization that like all the time and effort and money potentially that you spent on something was worthless. It wasn't worthless. Like I think I hate speaking for authors. I think Coelho would argue that it led you to the path that you're on. So it wasn't completely worthless, but as a human, when you're you're an investment banker and you've done it for 10 years and then all of a sudden you realize like I hate this more than anything in the entire world.
Yeah.
Like that would be a very like what do you do? What do you do next? Like what are my career paths? I'm 10 years in. Like can I even switch? Like or am I just doomed to have a 30-year terrible occupation and that I hate every second of?
I say which is very easy to fall into like that existential void from of just like, oh man, if like these last 10 years have been useless, has anything I've ever done been worth it? And like it becomes a very vicious void that
a vicious cycle.
And it can be really hard to pull yourself out of it when you do fall into that like existential crisis.
Or to even realize you're in a moment that you're stuck and not even to realize that you feel stuck. And then like reading through a book like this, it kind of makes you reflect upon yourself and question your own choices, your own path, and where you want to wind up.
Yeah. What I like most about this book, well, there's lots of things I like most about this book, but the theme that I like most about this book is the idea of being yourself. Like, be true to you. Like, you being true to you will not look the same as Jed being true to you, you being true to yourself, and also will not appear to be being true to yourself to other people. So me being true to myself, you may look at it and be like, what's he doing? You know, and that causes anxiety and that causes worry and that causes all the other things that the negative feelings of that are associated with that. But the end game, like the end result, is you're true to yourself and you are who you want to be and who you feel like you are meant to be.
Yeah, if you're not true to yourself, you're inherently building a destination you're not going to be happy with.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. That's a really good way to put that. And the short-term anxiety of other people looking at you and being like, you're not who I thought you were going to be, right? Your parents looking at you and being like, you should have gone into this career.
Yeah.
Or, your friends looking at you and thinking like, you should have married that person.
External factor.
Yes, yeah, it's like that causes a lot of anxiety, but the end result is if you do what they want you to do, you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are true to yourself, you might have some short-term anxiety, but the long-term effects are you're going to be much happier with yourself.
When it's like, and I've seen it in conversations like from like popular YouTubers and things like that with their fans that are just like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber too. That they're always just like, you need to think about why you want to do this.
Yep.
They're like, do you want to do this just because it's cool and that's it? And they're like, because none of us that have made big names for ourselves have done it by saying, I'm going to go into this and make a big name for myself and make a lot of money.
Yep.
Like we started just doing something that we loved and that pulled people in because we were being genuine, because we were saying, this is a thing that I really love to do and I want to share it with you and do with that what you will, but it's what I'm going to do.
And it's interesting that you speak about it like that, because I think that that's what this book, again, don't want to speak for the author, but if you follow the plot in this book, he comes across, he goes treasure hunting, right? He goes in search of a treasure that he sees in his dream, and he finds different treasures. Like he gets rich twice throughout the course of this book, but then bad things happen to him as soon as he gets rich. And then the end of the book, the treasure was actually all the way back where he started. And
It seems like a classic kind of like fable or a
Yes.
tale of morals. Yeah.
yes, exactly. It's a parabola.
It also pulled into mind for me, though, the meme of just like, but the real treasure was the friendship we made along the way.
Exactly. It's like there's truth to it.
Right. Yeah, it's not inaccurate, but
Yep.
it's like I always just hear it in that stupid little meme voice.
And I think that that's also the argument for why people don't like this book is something like that, is that it's contrived or
that kind
whatever
of
you want to say.
leads me into my next question, because this book has such a following. It's heralded so much throughout so many people's lives. Like you said, it's a grounding point. It's such a big factor in how they choose to live their lives. So for our listeners that have kind of heard of it or may have connotations to it, like, what did you think about that? Like, not necessarily to alleviate people's worries, but like, what was your experience with it?
So when I was preparing for this, I was going back and I was reading the publication, like New York Times. I read their book review for it, and the reviewer called it a self-help book, which I was like, really? I would not have put this in a self-help book category. Like, I think of self-help book and I think of like The Secret, like from 10 or so years ago that it was like.
I've seen lots of comparisons between that and this one, people making that comparison.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't, and maybe it's because of the style, maybe it's because of the structure, because it is a fiction book. Like it's not just a philosophy book where it's like, here's the secret to like, and I don't know much about The Secret, so I apologize to anybody who enjoys The Secret. I'm not meaning to demean you at all in any way, but the way I understood The Secret to be was like, we are going to unlock the secret for you.
Gotcha. So it really acts as a self-help. Like
Yes.
it gives you answers.
Yeah, and it's like a step-by-step thing. Like, it's like, if you want to accomplish this, then you have to do these 6 steps.
Yeah, I was going to say, with like the self-help, it makes me think of like the 7 behaviors of successful people.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
something like
Yes.
that. That's
Where it's
like,
very
here are
deliberate.
here are the bullet points that you need to hit to be a success and things like that.
In that review, he also, like, the sentence was something like, it's a self-help book, but it's more than a self-help book. So, and that's kind of like, I don't really see it as a self-help book, but if I can understand it in the context of that sentence.
So like if you
Yeah.
choose to lean in the second half of what the reviewer was saying, like
Yes.
if you like self-help book, but there's more to it. Well, if you embrace the more to it, you can get more from it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not so like you were saying, like the negative things that people would say about it is that it's kind of cheesy, I guess would be a way to put it, right? Like, and sort of going back to your point about memes.
Yeah.
Like there is moments that I can understand why people would call it cheesy. But I also think that that's like a function of like how you read it and when you read it. Like, so I mentioned that like I read this at specific times in my life, right? Like when I'm feeling that I need some direction, this is when I read this book. If I were to read this book when I feel like everything is great and it wasn't, that's not what I'm looking for, I probably would say there's some cheesy things that are said in here, right? But when you read it at a time that you need it, it doesn't feel cheesy at all.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel self-helpy. It doesn't feel, it feels mystical to me.
Yeah.
Like it feels like we were talking about it being a Terrence Malick movie. Like that's the feeling of it. Like if you ever watched a Terrence Malick movie, like there's very little talking. It's all feeling. It's
the air of magic, otherworldliness to it. Yep.
Yes, and that's how I feel when I'm in those moods when I read this book. It doesn't feel cheesy at all to me, but I can understand how someone might argue that it's cheesy. Like if you took a line out and read it as a individual quote, it might come off as cheesy.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's you run the risk of that when you write a novel that is going to be talking about these, like you said, parables or classic tropes like that you could just see it for the tropes it is.
Yes.
But if
Yeah.
you choose to look into the depth that the author is trying to add to it,
Yeah.
there is more.
Yeah.
And because it's one of those, like, I think it's easy to overlook the fact that our experience with any form of media depends a lot on us.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, that, like, you read it when you're in a very specific headspace and mood and point in your life. Reading or watching or playing anything like that. Yeah, you all have the writers and the creators and everything else that are really good at, like, influencing your emotion through something. But even then, if you're in a cynical kind of like mindset, then those things that are supposed to be like heartwarming and like tugs on the heartstrings don't always land.
Yeah.
That it's just like, whatever. Like, no one actually feels that way. No one actually is that lovey-dovey. No one actually cares that much. Like, it's easy for your own emotions in a moment to affect how you're interpreting something.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely 100% correct. I also would say that, like, who you are, right? Like, will depend on on how you interpret this book, like what you take out of this book. Like if you are someone who is looking for answers in the world and who is curious and questions where they are in the world and where they're supposed to be in the world, then this book is really going to mean a lot to you. But if you are the type of person, and there's nothing, I'm not judging, I'm not like putting a value judgment on either of these people.
Yeah, one is not better or worse than the other.
We're all different and we all behave differently in this world. But if you are the type of person who is more like, I'm on the path that I'm on, like I'm not going to question it. That's just what it is, right? I'm going to do this job for 30 years and then retire and, not be happy or sad about it. Just understand that that's the way that it is. This book probably would come across as kind of cheesy and a little bit new agey and a little like eye rolly.
It's kind of one of those of like, it's what popped into my head, but it's kind of stupid. Are you a SpongeBob or are you a Squidward? Like, that, like,
I'm too old to answer that.
Well, I was going to say, because like SpongeBob has that thing where like he's always just looking for everything that's good and everything else. And so he has a good view and experience of the world around him. But then like it popped into my head because you said, you work 30 years and then you retire, because in the earlier episodes, Squidward has a line where he says, we do this for 40 years and then we die. It's very much like, to put it in a non-Nickelodeon frame, it's the glass half full versus glass half empty.
Sure. So have you read anything else by Paulo?
I have. Valkyries is one of them, and I forgot what the other one was.
Do you think it was like comparable at all to this, or do you think the style changes drastically between novels?
No, I would definitely say that at least the ones that I have read, all of his books fall into what I classified this book as, which is philosophical fiction. Not much happens in the actual plot of the book. It's more about what he is saying in the book. Like it's more about what the narrator, which is Paulo Coelho, the things that he is trying to get across. They're obviously not at all the same. The themes will be significantly different from one to another. But I will say, at least for the three that I have read, the theme of following your path, whatever your path is, like figuring out your path and following your path, is a constant theme, I think, in his writings.
Yeah, and just the idea of like it being your path, not a path that someone else wants to set for you.
Yep. And trusting that. Like, and that's a hard thing to do. Let's be honest. Like, it's hard when everybody's telling you, you should do this or you should do that, and you feel your path is something that deviates from that. That is, in my opinion, one of the hardest things to do as a human.
Yeah. Well, you can't do that. You're not going to be financially stable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And those are such external factors. You have to really listen to yourself because it's such an internal, such a personal journey.
Yeah. Yes. And it's about you. Like, I'm almost 40 years old nowadays, and I haven't learned a ton in life, but I would say the one of the things that I have learned is, like, your happiness is dependent on you. You have to take the reins on your own happiness.
Yep. You have to feed that.
Yes.
Yep.
You have to figure out what makes you happy and make sure that you do that thing. Or those things.
Yeah.
And I think that this book reiterates that to me when I'm in a moment of sort of floundering where I'm maybe not the happiest or whatever it may be. This book helps me, kind of jars me back into place, like kind of puts me back on the track of happiness and of like owning my happiness and knowing like I can't let other people tell me what to do to be happy. Like I have to make those decisions for myself.
Yeah, the idea of the responsibility for your experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah. Well, we like to always ask this question as we're wrapping up our interviews. Are you currently reading anything right now that is notable, or are you excited about anything that's coming out that you would really like to get a hold on?
So, no, not really. The pandemic basically broke my brain, and I am
Relatable.
Unable to really like read it all anymore. I haven't read a book in like a year and a half, 2 years almost.
Yeah.
I used to sit, like a book like this, I could read it in 2.5 hours, 2 hours, and I can't read for more than 20 minutes at a time anymore.
That's really relatable. I mean, is there any video games or anything? I know right now for me, it's the NBA playoffs.
Sure.
I'm watching that. Like crazy.
I've been watching the NBA playoffs. I, like, in moments like this, I tend to just go back to the things of comfort. So, like, I've been watching things like New Girl, which is like a great funny show, sitcom that's just mindless and fun and silly. Like, and so I find
it's perfect for these times. There's a lot going on.
And it seems like, like the thing like that, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec, like that's the, like when I sit down on my couch and I'm like, what am I going to put on? Or I sit down on my couch and I'm like, what am I going to do? It tends to be something that is light.
Yeah.
Because it feels like the world is heavy right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but like, I feel like other people are going to listen to this and think, oh yeah, that's where I am
Yeah.
too.
Cool,
It's
I'm not
light
crazy
fare
for doing
things
that.
just
The
with
NBA
how things
playoffs.
are right now. Yes, exactly.
You know,
It's
like, there's- I
perfect.
have
It
no stake in that.
distracts.
Yeah.
It's really light. Yep.
For me, I tend to lean really hard into like the nostalgia bombs. Like I'll pop on like Rugrats or like Hey Arnold
Yeah.
or
I
like
was gonna say The Simpsons is like a warm blanket for me.
Yeah.
Childhood memories.
yeah, I was gonna say so like I pull in like all the cartoons that I remember watching like in the 90s and early 20s and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes.
My girlfriend and I are almost exactly the same as you. One of the things that we'll put on when we're really feeling like we want to just get back to childhood is Recess.
Yes.
Which is like, it's on Disney Plus, and I didn't even
Yes.
realize it was on Disney Plus. And she said something, and I
Right.
like put it on, and it like I remembered all the storylines, and like it was just
Yeah.
it was a good way to put it, a warm blanket.
Yeah, and
Like,
I would
very
say
much that way. for
Something
me.
very
Yep.
comforting, where it's like
That's a great choice.
yeah.
Yes.
And I turn to Gravity Falls a lot
Okay.
on
Yeah.
Disney Plus. And it's to the point that like everyone else in the house is just like, you've watched this like 78 times. Why do you keep doing this? I'm like, because I know it and I love it.
There's something about that though. Like, I'm gonna date myself to no end, but after school they had like regular shows at regular times. So The Simpsons was on at 6 o'clock. From 4 to 5 they had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on, which I watched every single day. It made me laugh all the time. I could probably, there are episodes that I could do the dialogue. Like if you paused it,
Beat
I could
for
do the
beat.
Oh, yeah.
yes, beat for beat,
Yeah.
jokes right on cue, all of those things. And there's something very comforting and very like, it's sort of like meditation in a way.
Yeah.
Where like
it just lets you turn your brain off
yes,
for a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, and you can turn it back on, and you'll
But
be
it's
right
like-
back into whatever it is
Yeah.
you're watching because you've seen it so many times that
It's
you
like
know
being with
exactly
your-
what's happening.
It's being with your old friends is what
Yes,
it feels like.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Which I always find very comforting to me. It's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I can pay attention or I can not pay attention, and it's totally fine. Like if you start something new, it's like you got to be there. You got to be locked in. You got to, because you might miss something
Right.
that's going to have an impact 2 hours down there, 5 episodes or 2
Right.
seasons, depending on what the type of things.
Right.
you're
And then
watching
if
are.
you haven't been paying attention, that twist comes, you're like, wait, what? What
Yes.
just happened?
Yes, and like that, honestly, like if we're talking TV, like that is things that I really like are shows that are like that. Things
Yes.
that happen in season 1 that circle back around in season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh wow, like, but you have to be paying attention, and you
Yes.
have to be in the mindset of paying attention.
Well, thank you, Calvin, for joining us. That was a really fun interview. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to do this. This is fun for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking about the things I like, and I enjoy like having philosophical, thoughtful conversation.
Do you have time to stick around for our 1-star versus 5 stars?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Then let's get into it.
So the first review I have is from Storygraph. It's a pretty awesome app and website for book reviews. This review is from Hypes. They give it a 5-star. Universally relatable to and full of great lessons. Don't be distracted by the apparent simplicity of the story. This is by design and works well in not detracting from the lessons it wants to communicate.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that it's like it is in itself a simple story if you just take it at its face value.
But that's
So-
by design.
Yeah, that's what I tried to say in 2 sentences when it took me 3 minutes to say it.
Yes, I feel that in my soul.
If brevity is the soul of wit, what does that say about us?
So my first 1-star review comes from Amazon, written by Elfa Mayer, and it is just titled, Not Good at All. This book was a poorly written schlock of new age rubbish. It started out okay, but then about the 10th time personal legend was teferenced?
Referenced?
It says teferenced. It lost me. The narrative is okay until the boy leaves the crystal store and then it's just unreadable. I really don't see anything deep or profound here other than persevere, I guess, and you'll get what you want. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of addressed a little bit of this new agey rubbish thing. I think if you compare that with the one that we just read, the 5-star one,
Yeah.
like it seems like the second person was looking for a narrative that just was the purpose of the book.
Right. And that it's kind of, again, I think it ties back to what we talked about of like your own headspace and personality affects how you interpret things. And just based on how that was written, I was like, that feels like it came from a cynic.
Yes, and yeah, I would agree with all of that.
So my next review is a 4-star. This one is from Catching from Storygraph as well. They simply say, I love this, Not to be Alchemist.
Yes. We
Done.
love a good pun.
Drop the mic. Done.
Love a good pun.
I love it.
My next 1 star comes from George on Amazon, and it's just titled 1 star. And it says, Treacle. It may have sold tens of millions, but so has McDonald's.
Ooh. That one hurts my soul a little bit. Well, first of all, what does the word treacle mean?
Treacle is like it's a British like sweet. It's like I think it's like a caramel or some like sticky toffee is what it is. So
Okay.
it's supposed to. It's saying it's like over indulgent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, like, to be critical of this person, he calls it overindulgent and then likens it to McDonald's, which is like the least indulgent thing, like not an overindulgent at all. So
Yeah.
I feel like he's a little confused about his review anyway.
As opposed to fast food, if a book has sold millions, it's because that many people were like, dang, this was good and I want it.
Yeah,
As opposed to, I need to eat something and McDonald's is right there, so here we go.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I would also say that usually if things, I mean, I don't know how many copies this has sold, millions and millions of copies though, but that brings out the like, if something is popular, then it can't be good.
Oh,
Yeah.
like contrarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that whole have to be like
I gotta
the
be.
counter.
I gotta be the cool person who's like this
Yeah.
thing that everybody likes is terrible.
Yeah, I'm an
Which-
edgelord because that's so overrated.
Yes,
And
exactly.
this is like picking, but it's not to say that you can't have a valid criticism or that isn't a
Yeah.
valid viewpoint,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
when you can kind of expand into your opinion instead
Right.
of just saying it's like McDonald's.
It
Yeah,
sucked.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
why did it suck? It just did. That's not a
A
reason.
lot of people liked
Yeah.
it, so it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's not an argument to me. Like, if
Right.
you didn't like it, cool. Don't like it.
That's valid.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
You don't have to say that you like anything that you didn't.
Yeah. I think
But it's
that-
like, if you can explain why you didn't like it, that's more helpful.
I'm hoping
And we
some
can
of
actually have a
the-
conversation.
So the next 5-star I have is from Poem Fish Librarian Lady, which great name.
Yes.
5-star review. They say Holes, the Louis Sachar book, Holes, but for adults, to put it simply. This book is a historical parable that is leisurely paced, but very insightful. The writing style is direct, focusing on events, character development, and emotional growth. The book touches on spirituality in a way that is light and open to interpretation. You follow Santiago from a lovesick shepherd to a man who dares to turn himself into the wind. He meets a king, he finds a love that will wait. He gives up bitterness and listens to the world all for his personal legend. Feel good, peaceful read, happy ending.
Nice.
Cool.
I say I've never read this book, but I'm like, after the conversation and the 5-star reviews, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to find this on the shelf and check it out. It comes with me today.
Like Calvin said, quick read.
Yeah.
I generally am not like I want a happy ending. Like you know, if I look historically at the things that I like, not the happy endings, frankly.
Yeah.
I think of things like the things that are my favorite. So this is
Yeah,
funny
good
to
with
me
the
that
bitter and the bittersweet. Nothing that's just necessarily, and
Yeah.
they lived happily ever after.
Yes, and this does have a happy ending though, but like it's an earned happy ending. And I feel like a lot of times when you watch, you know, a romantic comedy or whatever it is, or read a book, it feels forced. It feels
Yeah.
like we feel like the author feels like if I end it in a way that is a little morose or something like that, that like it won't be as popular or it won't get received as well. And so this, like, yes, it does have a happy ending, but it feels like an earned happy ending, which is
Yeah.
different than like you know, your classic romantic comedy or whatever.
Next 1-star review comes from Laura on Amazon. It's titled, Couldn't Even Finish. I am making a lot of changes in my life and figured out what I want to do, who I want to be, etc. So, my friend highly recommended this book to me. I do not like fiction, but I thought the book could help give me some wisdom and insight, so I gave it a shot. I read to about page 100, but even the first few pages were absolutely boring. The character wasn't relatable, the plot or storytelling wasn't engrossing, interesting, or written well, and the religious undertones weren't for me. I'm in my mid-20s, and this book reminded me of something I'd have to read for summer reading in middle school or high school. This book might be good for those interested in a shepherd roaming Africa and the Middle East in search of himself, but this book isn't good for any adult searching for themselves or looking for something entertaining and readable.
Well, it sounds like this is just another case of what you touched on, Calvin, where it's about the broad concepts. I mean, most parables, fables, what have you, are rather short to begin with, or like inherently. And it looks like this person definitely went in with a mindset that they were looking for a good novel, something that was going to really flesh out detail, character, time, and place.
Yeah. like you had said, of like, if you already feel like you're on the right path, you know where you're going, then like maybe this isn't going to be the book for you. And that's exactly how it sounds, that they were like, I did make all these changes and I figured out what I'm doing with my life. So,
well, and shameless plug here, if you are a middle school or high school student and want to read this book, you are more than welcome to during the summer reading program at the Jackson District Library. We have it on every digital platform.
So if you use our digital platforms, then read this book and kind of get your own perspective. We do these 1-star, 5-star, partly because they're hilarious, but then insight. And if you didn't glean anything from that, then please read the book. So the last review I have is a 5-star from Jess Mars. They said, absolutely loved this book. Definitely a must read. It's less than 200 pages, but you will submerge in an outstanding story that will leave you with a new perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. And, you know, they talk about the length of the book. If I read a fiction book that's length, it's going to take me half the time I don't want to make it sound like this is a super easy read. If you're reading it at least the way that I read it, it's a lot of setting the book down and a lot of thinking about things and a lot of like questioning things. And it's not like again, going back to what we talked about, it's not about the plot. Yeah. Like the plot is basically there to get the philosophical points out of that he wants to make. And so like if it was a regular fiction book, it would take me no time at all to read. But this will take me a good, 4 to 6 hours to read because every hour I'm going to put it down and I'm going to think for 15, 20 minutes about it and about what it's trying to tell me and where I am in life and what I want to accomplish in life. So
yeah, I actually have 2 1-star reviews left. I'm just going to read both. The next one is from Amazon by M. Eben, titled Everything That Happens is for the Best, lol. It should be illegal to sell this book without including a copy of Voltaire's Candide.
So I think that's what, with Candide, it's saying, like, we must cultivate our own garden and not rely on fate, which is very much at contrast. This book is saying, I don't know if it's necessarily a contrast. What do you think, Calvin? Because I think this book is saying, like, yes, trust in fate, but I don't think it's saying blindly, but that's a broad judgment. What do you think?
That's an interesting question. To me, I don't really think that this book is about fate. I think this book is about... So the way that I've always thought about fate, you're not fated to do a thing, like a very specific thing. It's like you are fated to have these 7 options, and then it is within your power to make the decision within those 7 options. And so to me, what he's saying is not that your life has been fated, right? It's more about being true to yourself.
Those moments of like, you were fated to come to this crossroads to make a decision.
Yes, exactly. I don't believe that he's saying, again, speaking for an author, hate it, sorry, that you are fated to do this thing. I believe that what he's saying is that you are fated to have many options, but in order to feel good about where you end up, you have to be true to yourself, which takes you to maybe that fate, but it could take you to this fate or that fate, or you could make the mistake and go down the wrong one and have to backtrack and all these things.
Right. It's like the cosmic version of a choose your own adventure.
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to put that. That's a very great way to put that.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And also, I've never read Candide, so I have no idea what the reference is. So I have no idea, like...
I did feel the need to kind of expand upon that. Because, I mean, myself included, I think that we need to clarify just a little bit on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I know who Voltaire is. That's got to count for something, right?
Yeah. And then for the last 1-star review that I have, it comes from Tupu on Goodreads. And it just says, someone humble this man.
I get what she's going with that. Like this is a high-minded book.
Yep.
With lots of high-minded ideas, and like I said, can come across as a little cheesy or a little foo-foo.
Yeah.
Like, I'm you can't see me because we're on a podcast, but I'm like
it's just
shaking my
shimmying the shoulders.
shaking my
fluff.
Yes.
Sayings for the sake of saying.
Yeah, like and
platitudes.
like you can
Platitudes.
Yes, platitudes. That's a great way to put it. Like you could read it as a book full of platitudes if you chose to do so.
So Calvin, before we let you go, are there any programs or anything like that coming up that you'd like to kind of plug in here?
So there is a program at the Carnegie Branch Library that is book related that's coming up that we've already kind of started, but we would love to have you come. It's called The Community Read, and the book specifically that's being discussed is called The Sum of Us, which is a book about the impact that some policies and mostly policies and laws in America, how they have sort of affected people long after they made it not a law anymore. or, like just all sorts of things and how they've affected generally minorities, people of color, things of that nature. So it will be a conversation, that might be a little tense. It might be a little uncomfortable, but I'm of a belief that uncomfortable conversations lead to good outcomes. And, I think that we're at a time and place in the world and in Jackson and everything that we need to be having these conversations. And it's good to have conversations about things, and it might make you uncomfortable, but you might learn something.
Yeah, the idea that like hard to hear is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. There have been people who have been attending who have explicitly stated like this was a hard book to read, or this conversation is a hard one to hear, but I'm glad I'm having it, and I'm glad that I read it, and that it's providing me context and perspective. There are lots of little things that people in power have done that you think don't make any difference at all, but then you see like how they really have made a difference. How
it trickles down.
Yeah, one of the examples that they used in the book that I found fascinating, that I never would have ever thought of in a million years until it was pointed out to me in this book, was the closing of public pools and the impact the closing of public pools had on communities. And the reason that they closed public pools was because the white people didn't want to be swimming with black people. And like the long-term impact that has had on communities, it was fascinating to me. And, a worthy subject to discuss.
It's the freakonomics of it all. When you hear the
it's a great
intentional or unintentional, culmination of decisions, it's really enlightening.
Yeah.
Really enlightening.
Yeah. When I read that book, I was fascinated by their connection between crime rate and abortions, like Roe v. Wade becoming legal. They connected the fact that 15 to 20 year period after Roe v. Wade, the crime rate dropped a ton, and they connected it between the two things, which again, never would have thought of, but but explained in that way, it's like, that does make sense.
Seemingly disparate,
yes,
but it comes together.
Yep. It's a great way to put it.
Real quick,
Yeah.
What was the title of that book again?
It's The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee, who is an economist. And so, like, a lot of the way she approaches things is through that light, which is very, like, it's kind of hard to argue against.
Right.
Like, it's very statistical, and, like, the arguments are very locked into logic and reason, as opposed to, like...
Clinical.
Yes, clinical, as opposed to, like, emotional.
Yeah.
So I've been fascinated. It's been hard to read, for sure. Like, that's one of those books where, like, you read for 20 minutes, and then you're like, I got to think about this for 20 minutes.
The uncomfortable truths that we live with. Yeah.
Right. That we've just accepted as the norm.
Yep.
I've never questioned why.
Yep,
100%.
absolutely.
Stay tuned to hear Calvin's reading of the first chapter of The Alchemist.
The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at the abandoned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate, and then laid some planks across it to prevent the flock from wandering away during the night. There were no wolves in the region, but once an animal had strayed during the night, and the boy had had to spend the entire next day searching for it. He swept the floor with his jacket and laid down, using the book he had just finished reading as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books. They lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. It was still dark when he awoke, and looking up, he could see the stars through the half-destroyed roof. I wanted to sleep a little longer, he thought. He had had the same dream that night a week ago, and once again he had awakened before it ended. He arose, taking up his crook, began to awaken the sheep that still slept. He had noticed that, as soon as he awoke, most of his animals had begun to stir. It was as if some mysterious energy bound his life to that of the sheep, with whom he had spent the last 2 years, leading them through the countryside in search of food and water. They are so used to me that they know my schedule, he muttered. Thinking that for a moment, he realized that it could be the other way around, that it was he who had become accustomed to their schedule. But there were certain of them who took a little bit longer to awake. The boy prodded them, one by one, with his crook, calling each by name. He had always believed that the sheep were able to understand what he said, so there were times when he read them parts of his books that had made an impression on him, or when he would tell them of the loneliness or the happiness of a shepherd in the fields. Sometimes he would comment to them on the things he had seen in the villages that they passed. But for the past few days he had spoken to them about only one thing, the girl, the daughter of a merchant who lived in the village they would reach in about 4 days. He had been to the village only once, the year before. The merchant was the proprietor of a dry goods store, and he always demanded that the sheep be sheared in his presence, so that he would not be cheated. A friend had told him about the shop, and he had taken his sheep there.
Thanks for listening. Feel free to email us at podcast@myjdl.com with any thoughts you have about our reading from today, any materials you think we should touch on in future episodes, or any questions you may have about library materials, events, or services. Any views or opinions expressed by the hosts or their guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of the Jackson District Library as a whole. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only.